Hey, what's going on, everybody? My name is Andy McMillin, and we are here with King of the Hammers founder, Mr. Dave Cole himself. Wanted to get together today and bring you guys kind of the nuts and bolts of the trophy truck King of the Hammers race. What is it called, Dave?
The Toyo Tires Invitational.
The Toyo Tires
presented by Monster Energy Drink.
The Toyo Tires Invitational presented by Monster Energy Drink for 2019 as a part of the King of the Hammers race. So let's dive right in. And first, Dave, I want to know, who is Dave Cole, being a racer myself. I've heard about you. Maybe there's some out there that haven't. But if they've been under a rock for the last couple of years, who is Dave Cole and what does he do?
Just a guy. I'm just a dumb racer that wanted to put on a race. And we started King of the Hammers now coming up on 13 years ago. And it was more just a way. I was a rock crawler and thought there'd got to be a better way to do things, and we needed some excitement and some energy, and basically stole a lot from Baja. We basically combined rock crawling and Baja together to make an endurance overland rock race. That's what it came down to.
So had you raced before you started King of the Hammers? You were a racer.
Rock crawler, yeah.
Of rock crawling.
Rock crawling, and then my old partner, my original partner with King of the Hammers, kind of got me into desert racing, and in 2008 I think I raced my first Vegas to Reno, and I've raced a little bit here and there. I've been fortunate to get in some spec trucks. Never been in a trophy truck, but I've been raced some spec trucks and done okay, and just had fun with it. I really enjoy racing in general. So
you had the crazy idea of becoming a race promoter.
Yeah, my ultimate pet peeve is someone that says, well, this sucks, that sucks, and not do anything better about it.
Yeah.
So I just figured I'd do something better. I'd try something different. If it worked, it worked. If it didn't, it didn't. And that's how King of the Hammer started. And we've worked really hard to keep bringing a good product to both the racers and the fans and everybody involved.
So you've raced rock crawling. You've done Best in the Desert races.
Mm-hmm.
You've done score races.
Nora, yep.
Nora races. And so have you kind of taken, different ideas from the different promoters or the way they do things or things you might do differently and try to implement those into your series?
Sure, yeah. I mean, I can't even go to a football game now and not look at how they're managing people, managing the crowd, or what they're doing. I mean, if you just look around and figure out what works and what doesn't. Mm-hmm. I mean, I've definitely emulated some of the people that I've worked with in the past and how they treat racers, and hopefully I'm giving them that feedback or giving them that experience as well.
Yeah.
I mean, in the end, the racers are my clients. If there's no racers, there's no show. There's no show. What are we doing?
So, I like that attitude personally. But it's a big undertaking.
There's a lot. It doesn't. It's not as easy as to always do what the racers want. Because if you always do that, then you got to find balance.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine dealing with me and Robbie Gordon, my cousins, and Rob McCachran. Multiple times a year.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Haven't dealt with most of you guys. I just have know casually right now, but a racer's a racer. And we had that conversation earlier. If a racer's telling you what's the best for the event, it's most likely what's best for the racer.
Of course not,
And
Dave.
so you have to weigh that and try to figure out, okay, what really is the best way to go here.
Yeah.
A lot of times they're right. They just got to find that balance.
So given that, the Toyo Tires Invitational, presented by Monster Energy for 2019, will be the inaugural race. How did that idea come to life, and when did it really start to take shape? There's been a lot of hype about it.
Sure.
You posted about it on different websites and done articles on it. So give us some insight into how that kind of came about.
Sure. I mean, we've been trying to evolve King of the Hammers as an event the best we can. We've had motos there for quite a while, and motos just wasn't working for us. Both from a fan experience was kind of iffy. It was tough to manage, and then from a revenue standpoint, it was quite honestly pretty poor. And so it was, how do we make the business better? How do we make the event better? And working, Travis Clark and Wasserman have been my marketing arm for quite a while now, for 3 years. So the conversation's been going for several years about, hey, what if you did this? What if you did that? And I've always kind of kept it at arm's length. And then honestly, what one of the biggest thing is there was pretty early on like a groundswell that we could get sponsorship to cover the nut and make this such a big purse.
Yeah.
But I was adamant that I wasn't going to pay, no offense, I wasn't going to pay you a lot of money to come race trophy trucks and not be able to pay the guys that have helped build the event, the Rock guys, Lauren Healy's and Shannon Campbell's, all those guys.
Sure.
They needed to get paid as well. They helped build the event. If it wasn't for them, there wouldn't be 100,000 people sitting in the desert.
Yeah.
So that opportunity came with both Monster and with Toyo, and then that was a green light. Then it was, okay, let's figure this out. And there's some uncomfortable stuff. Being the week after Parker, I would love for that to be different. I do not want to be trying to break the sport apart. When we first started King of the Hammers, Casey and I worked together closely. We used to race as a series race. It used to be with Best in the Desert, and I appreciated that. But King of the Hammers and Parker were always there. That's just the way that.
So you had a Ultra 4 race that was a part of the Best in the Desert race was part of the Ultra 4 series.
2010 and 11, and I think even 12, maybe 2010 and 11 were both series races for the Ultra 4 series.
Oh, really?
Where we took our racers to Best in the Desert. And it just, we started, and we're locked into our date. Best in the Desert is locked into their date with Parker, and we're just kind of just the nature of the beast. It's just the way we are.
Yeah. Yeah,
So,
your date is set, you can't move it. Their date is set, they can't move it.
Yep.
In the end, it's, as a business owner, I'm sure you know after 13 years that you can't make everyone happy.
Yeah.
And you kind of got to do what you got to do. You got to make those tough
Yeah,
decisions.
I wouldn't be able to afford to do this race if we tried to do this race in May or some other time that fit everybody else's schedule. The infrastructure's there with King of the Hammers. I mean,
Right.
we're spending close to $500,000 by the time. That's just to get the permits. $350 is just a BLM, and then you have all the insurance that goes into it and everything else. Before we even turn the lights on, we're $500,000 in, and we'd have the same infrastructure, and that would just make it completely a non-starter to do this as a separate event.
It's the only way to make it feasible is to keep it the date that it is, use the existing infrastructure.
Right.
Everything's already set up.
Yep.
Pretty much turnkey, bring the trophy trucks in.
Yep.
So bringing the trophy trucks in, there's been, I've actually even gotten a lot of questions about it. People think I'm on the inside or know everything for some reason, but I only know as much as everyone else. But I read in the RDC article when that came out that there was kind of some discrepancies in how people interpreted the invite process.
Sure.
And how that kind of works. So
that right there is just, that was a product of incredibly rapid growth and not being prepared for it.
Yeah.
It's because it was like, okay, we're going to do this idea, we're going to do this race. Who's going to come? Well, I think the top 20 guys would come, and so we started talking about it. It's like we would consider ourselves lucky if 20 of you and your peers would come race. And then all of a sudden it was like, the people just beating down my door. It's like, I want to come race. I'm just like, you have never raced trophy truck ever.
Everyone's sharing the post, and I want to come race. I hope I get an invite to come race. And
Yeah,
pretty sure everyone was coming out of the woodwork, wanting to come race.
And so the balance, right? So then the initial stakeholders, quite honestly, Tavo, Rob Mack, the guys that were the initial targets of this kind of all-star race, right? Speaking for you, you wanted that exclusivity. You wanted that opportunity to basically be the show. I want to put the best drivers in the desert with all eyes on us, and a full course safety situation where you get to have your own course, go race.
Yep.
And so that's where it started. And then then the business side came in. It's like, but we need to have this guy too, but we need to have that guy too. And then it was how can you do this and not have guys that race King of the Hammers race? And it's like, now all of a sudden you're juggling 30 balls in the air.
Yeah.
And we're still thinking no one's going to show up. And then we called the first 25, which became the first 31 people, right? And everyone was, I'm in, I'm all in. There's just a couple guys that haven't completely committed to it. And we're like, okay, this is cool, but what have we done? And then we started trying to figure out a way, how do we rationalize I hate to be subjective. To me, you should earn your way in. And so that's when we started talking about this ranking concept and finding exclusivity based on performance, not based on favoritism or subjective, I like you, but I don't like him, so he doesn't race, you race. That's crap.
So more of a statistical approach.
Yep, data.
On performance data.
Absolutely, yep. So that spun into, what it spun into actually, it started because there was a subjective side of you picked these 31 guys, but you didn't pick Billy Wilson, or you didn't pick so-and-so, right?
Yep.
And how can you pick this guy and you didn't pick, and it's like, all right,
Yeah.
Let's see how far off we are.
Right.
And I started talking. I had the opportunity again working with Travis to talk to Austin or Fish, and started figuring out what is real. I mean, Fish knows more about the data and about the true objective facts of desert racing than anybody I know. So then it was, let's get to real data. Let's get a real ranking system that says over the last X amount of time, and we chose 3 years, who's performed and who hasn't. And once we came up with that data, it kind of affirmed that some of the choices we made were right, and then it also brought to light some people that we omitted that shouldn't have been omitted.
I'm sure.
And then it's like, okay, how do we fix all this out? And we ended up with this objective: we're going to take 50 guys, and we're going to take the top 50, and you're going to go racing. And the other part to that, sorry, I'm kind of go off.
No. Tangents are welcome here.
The other part to that is how does qualifying work? Because that's the two-part conversation, right? Because I'm very much we were leaning towards the concept like we have in King of the Hammers. You have people in that have earned their way in. Then you have the LCQ, which is this: if you weren't in this list, you can still come in. It's an open tryout, right?
Yeah, that's kind of how this all started too. It was the invites, and then it's okay, let's do the invites that are exclusive. But then the guys who didn't make the subjective, or the subjective list, they can have a chance to qualify in. So
what we then the conversation became, well, what's your qualifying loop going to be? If it's going to be 2 miles, then every four-wheel drive truck is going to win, and blah, 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 blah. And it came down to this, like, okay, so how do we get a real test? How do we get a real qualifying? I couldn't do a 15-mile qualifying loop and call it separate from the race. It just got very cumbersome doing it that way. I'm mindful that there's some of you guys that aren't even going to show up until the night before the race because you're going to be coming from Parker. And so it's, okay, how do I keep this as low impact as possible and still give you guys enough opportunity? So we spun out the concept of this knockout where we're going to have you line up, you're going to go race 40 miles, and then we're going to stop and regrid the race and then go race for the cash.
So the invite process, statistical data, last 3 years, with different races weighted differently, and it's all based on performance and however you finished, you got points for those finishes. Over the last 3 years, added up, you got a list of how many drivers are you gonna invite to come? We're
gonna invite the top 50 in the rankings, but as soon as we're opening that, the registration's already open right now, so it was open last week. When we're gonna get to November 20th after the 1,000, if whoever's not filled those top 50 spots, then we'll open it to 51 and down.
Okay.
So we're going to get a full field, but we want to get it based upon rankings.
Gotcha. You're going to give the people that made the top 50 a chance to register and get in. And then if 30 guys register and 20 don't, then the next 20 on the list, you're going to send the invites and let them come. And then qualifying is going to be a prologue style, 40 miles.
40 miles. If you ranked in the top 20, you're automatically going to get to the main, but you're going to regrid based upon your time. So if you go out and get 3 flats and blow a power steering pump, right? Limp your car back to the start-finish line, fix up your car, get ready for the main, but you're going to start 40th.
If you're able to get back.
If you're able,
and get it fixed in time for the main to start.
Then you can go.
Which I presume the main will probably start soon after the last truck finishes.
Within 20 minutes after the last truck finishes the first 40 miles, we regrid and go.
I'm assuming there's going to have to be some sort of time that you're going to give everyone to finish, like a minimum amount of time to finish the prologue lap. And then once that time elapses, hey, the show's got to go on.
If you haven't finished 15 minutes after the last running car comes in, then you're not a finisher.
Okay.
We'll clear the course. And go again.
Which I'm actually a fan of, because the little 2 mile, 3 mile, 5 mile qualifying loops, it still separates, the good drivers from the not so good drivers in the normal races. But this being such a stacked field, a lot of us haven't driven out in Lucerne Valley, don't have a lot of test time. It's really going to separate who can read terrain, who knows really how to drive, and how they're going to drive during the race. Because 40 miles, to everyone out there watching that are fans, is a lot different than a little 3 mile, 5 mile short course qualifying lap.
With the no chase aspect, there's no helicopters, right? This is down to your vehicle, go. You're gonna see your pit crew, at 2 different pits, You're going to see them multiple times during the race, but there's only 2 locations they can be at. You're not. This is not going to be a race of one because you out logisticed everybody. You're going to have to physically get in your car and drive faster. Period.
Yeah. So touching on the pits, and after covering the qualifying format and how that's going to work, the top 20. Just to recap, the top 20 on the list that qualify, as long as they finish their qualifying loop, they're guaranteed in.
As long as they can get back to the start line before we go again, even
Right.
if they are DNF, they're still going to start. They're going to be seated and go.
Gotcha.
Everybody else is seated based upon their time.
And then how does everyone start the qualifying? Is it based off the stat sheet of the 1 through 50? Is that how they're going to go
They're
off?
starting the first 40-mile loop based upon their ranking. Yes.
And then 1 truck every 30 seconds, 2 every 30 seconds, 2 every minute, 1 every minute.
1 every minute.
1 every minute.
Yep.
Okay. And then after qualifying, the first truck will probably have an advantage that finishes. I don't know about an advantage, but they're going to have more rest time in between
more
the
downtime.
qualifying run
Yep.
and the actual race start, which when you're racing, out in the desert, high speed, slow speed, I don't know that there's not really an advantage to a qualifying style setup given that style of qualifying lap. I mean, if you were on a 3-mile short course and then there was an hour to burn after, a lot of guys would probably change a lot of stuff out.
Change gear, change shock light up.
Yep.
This you're going to have to run 40 miles, and you're going to have all different kinds of terrain in that 40 miles. So it's not like you're setting up just for turns. You have wide open. As part of your first 40 miles, you're going to be on a lake bed that's 7 miles long, 6 miles long. It's not Laguna Salada. It's not Diablo, but it's big.
Yeah.
And you're gonna be peeling out. That's a 130 mile an hour section for you guys.
So after the 40 miles, there's not going to be a strict impound. Trucks are going to come to a halt in a general area. They're all going to regroup.
You're just going to be in the main pit. You're not going to be able to go back to your garage.
Yeah.
You're going to work in your main pit, but you're going to have access to your car. And there's an upside to being qualifying in the top 10 because you're going to get back and you have a little extra time to work on your car.
Right.
But it's not going to be so much that you're not going to have time to be swapping out gear sets or swapping out motors, swapping out anything. It's just you're going to throw some fuel in the car, maybe add a spare tire and go.
Gotcha. So. And then how you finish the qualifying, everyone's going to be reseated based on their qualifying results.
Times go away. You start with a 0 slate.
Okay.
Go race. Two off the line at a time, once every minute.
2 at a time, 1 every minute.
Yeah.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is that how the King of the Hammers races start? I've never watched King of the Hammers.
2 at a time, once every minute. Yep.
Gotcha. And then
we'll put 130 cars off the line that way.
Right. Yeah, because the loops there's a 80-mile loop.
There's 2 separate loops for the race, an 80-mile loop and a 40-mile loop. You'll do each twice, plus that 40-mile loop a third time is that qualifying effort. So there's 120 miles of unique desert you're going to touch, and you'll touch all of it multiple times.
Wow. That's interesting. And then there will be designated pit areas.
There's 2, one in the main pit and then one in the remote pit 1. Yep.
Okay.
And you'll touch remote pit 1.
Because most trucks, 240 miles total after prologue. So even if you refueled after prologue, you still have 240 race miles to go. Most guys can't go that on fuel and tires.
Yep.
Pretty much everyone can't, as far as I know. So everyone's going to have to pretty much pit once throughout the race, either at the remote pit or at the main pit.
Yes, sir.
So everyone has a fair shot at that. And then what about pre-running?
Pre-running will be open the same way as for all the other racers at King of the Hammers. So you'll be able to pre-run on Friday, on Saturday when the UTVs are qualifying, and then the UTVs race Sunday, so you can't qualify that. You can't pre-run then. You can pre-run Monday and Tuesday.
Okay.
So Friday, Saturday, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday's the EMC race, our Everyman Challenge race, and then Thursday you guys go.
How about pre-run vehicles? Can you pretty much bring
anything you want? It's half speed pre-running. This isn't like pre-running in Mexico where it's just go and go and go. You're going to have people everywhere. There's going to be when we're not racing full course, the fans are out recreating, so they're going to be out driving around. They're going to be out driving on the same course you want to drive on. They're going to be driving backwards and driving on rocks and doing everything.
Because it's open.
It's open desert.
Open.
They're recreating. So you guys aren't. It's not free reign. Go peel out.
Yeah. You're not out there by yourselves.
Quite honestly, you're best off just jumping in a UTV and just because then you can see you're on the dirt, you're touching it, you're looking at it,
Right.
as opposed to you kind of remove when you're sitting in an air conditioned cab and
Yeah. Yeah.
some of your pretty cool pre-runners. But you'll get them. You can get around it too. It's not a problem.
Okay. And then one interesting thing that I kind of saw that was maybe it wasn't slid in, but it came in the RDC interview was the link between this race and the San Felipe race.
Sure.
And I saw that the finishing order of this race for those who choose to race San Felipe will determine the starting spots
At San
for
Felipe.
San Felipe.
Yeah, I'm very proud that we built a relationship with Roger with Score. It's not in any way a knock on Best in the Desert at all. It's just Score. It's Baja, right? It's the epitome of what you guys are trying to do.
Right.
And it's also the name. I mean, when I think of you or Rob Mack or Robbie Gordon, you guys are trophy track drivers, and that's what you should be called. So I work with Roger, and I secured the licensing rights. I mean, he owns the name; it's part of his business. And I'm proud that Roger and the Score team are going to be out there at the race. They're going to be out working, being part of the event as well.
Oh, cool.
And Roger also asked for this to be the qualifying seating for the San Felipe. I said, absolutely, be honored to. So,
Yeah.
pretty cool opportunity.
What about some who might say, controversially, that, oh, well, I didn't make the top 50 list for the King of the Hammers race, and I want to race San Felipe, but I don't want to start in the back. And for those who don't know, last year's San Felipe, it was actually just a random draw.
Right.
It was everyone's name in a hat, who registered, you pull the number out of the hat,
Right.
and that's where they started the race. So
I would say we're all on a learning curve, and we're all trying to make the best of it. This is kind of an audible on Roger's side, and it was I think a cool thing. And it's better than everybody being random. At least if you're in the top 50. And in reality is, I would think that 10 or 15 of the top 50 qualified guys aren't gonna sign up.
Yeah.
So there's gonna be 60, 65 in the data. There's only 127 trophy truck drivers out there over the last 3 years total. So over half of them are going to have an opportunity to race here.
Yeah.
There's some of them are not going to be left out. Yeah, that's a growth curve, a way we can learn how to do better. But this is the concept of this race. Also encourages you to go race. Encourages you to go race Best in the Desert. Encourages you to go race Score, because that's how you're going to get your ranking, which is going to set
that's
your qualifying order.
That's a good point. And what I found actually cool about it was supporting the other series by having the rankings determined by all the other races. The bigger the race, I imagine the higher the weight for how you finish that race.
Fish is still working out all the details on that, as far because he owns that data. But we're ranking the races based upon their status, as well as their difficulty, as well as the number of competitors. Beating 10 people is not as cool as beating 30 people.
Right. Yeah,
and,
absolutely.
Beating them on a peninsula run is cooler than, say, winning the TL100 Challenge. It's just a different status.
Yeah, absolutely. I think all of us racers would agree with that.
It's not a knock. Not everything can be the 1,000. Not everything can be the Mint. Not everything can be Parker or King of the Hammers. There's other races. They're just not as good.
Absolutely. So then I think where we know about King of the Hammers, the Toyo Tires Invitational for 2019, what's the future of this race? Is it going to be, let's see how this race goes?
No, we have a 3-year deal with Toyo Monster. I'm committed to this. This isn't a fly by. This is a huge deal for me, a departure from where we've been. It's a big undertaking, and we're committed to it for 3 years. We'll see how it goes from there. We'll see how it goes after the first year, and how when we sign up for the fourth. But I'm in. I'm all in on this. So we'll keep moving forward, and 2020 will be good, and hopefully 2021's better, and we just keep making cool stuff happen.
Well, that's cool. I'm personally excited about it. As soon as I heard about it, and I think the biggest thing, and what excited most of us guys the most, was just everything that we've heard about you, how you run your races. I've never been to King of the Hammers personally, but I'll have a lot of friends that go, other racers that race it, and they have nothing but great things to say about you and your organization. Not just that, but then the live coverage that you guys offer. I've actually watched it before, being at home, and not out there at the races. And the purse itself is that's obviously very appetizing for a lot of us guys that take this very seriously.
Yep. We're going to throw our full, we grow every year, but we'll throw our full complement of live coverage at this as well as TV. It's going to be on ABC Network in mid-April. I believe April 15th or whatever closest weekend to that is when the trophy truck race will air. And that's part of the Monsters World of X Games package.
Yeah.
And then we'll have our live coverage as well, which last year was over almost 1.5 million people unique watching King of the Hammer. So
wow.
With the magnet that you guys are, is what you guys bring desert racing, I can't imagine that we're not going to be over 2 million unique people watching live. So that's a big number.
That's a big number.
It's a good number.
That's a really big number.
Yeah. And
especially with how hard, everyone talks about how difficult it is to view a desert race. I mean, especially in Mexico, we're out in the middle of nowhere. I believe this year, maybe last year, you had a crew or yourself somewhere in the middle of Baja, and I saw live stream coverage on Facebook.
We did Nora 3 years ago that way.
Nora 3 years ago.
We covered, it's a kind of a dumb story, but I always wanted to do Vegas Arena this way, and we never did it. But we covered Nora with 3 people and a helicopter. We covered pretty much every racer and every mile.
Wow.
And it was dumb. It was the cool part of the story is we started the cameraman at the start line, and I was sitting in the middle, and we had a helicopter that was kind of the medical helicopter as well, so it was an operations helicopter. And we hand shot at the helicopter. So we shot the start, and then we handed off to me shooting on the ground in the middle. And then the helicopter took off when the last guy left and passed everybody, shooting them as they passed them. When he got to me, he put the card in a football and threw me in their football, and I took the card out and I put it in my camera, and I played everything the helicopter just shot.
What?
And then when I was done playing my near live, I handed it off to the guy that flew from the start to the finish, and he was capturing the finish.
Wow.
And then the helicopter flew from me to the finish, handed him a football, and we had 14 hours of coverage with 3 people and like 15 grand.
Why football?
Because I play football. I don't know. Because I can get a Nerf football. I couldn't get a Nerf basketball. But we just literally kind of slipped in the football and put the memory card in it and threw it out of the helicopter.
Wow.
Dumb.
That's pretty smart.
I like dumb things, but I'm pretty simple.
Needless to say, I'd say you kind of geek out on some of this stuff.
I do a little bit, yeah.
Which is cool to hear, because that means you're super into it.
Yeah, no, I'm excited. I like doing things that when you say it can't be done, you can't do that. You can't do a live coverage from a car, that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. Sure we can. We got to just figure out how to do it.
That's rad.
So just figuring out how to do it.
So now let's dive in a little bit to the racer experience. So
sure.
Me, I'm curious. I've seen a lot of pictures of Hammertown. Mm-hmm. It looks insane. It looks busy. What is when I get in my RV or my truck and trailer to drive out there? What am I getting into here?
So every registered team is going to have a 40 by 80 garage area. So you don't pit in your garage area, you pit on the hot pits. But for where you stay, where you go to base out of is your garage area. Mm-hmm. That we have a fenced off area. So there's 70,000 people last year. I'm sure there's going to be 100,000 people there this year. There's a fenced off area that basically keeps that from coming in on top of you too much. Mm-hmm. They still have access to you, but not unfettered.
Yeah. They're like reserved spots.
Reserved spots. So as soon as you register, you're going to actually, as part of your registration process online, you're going to pick your spot. You're going to pick who you want to be next to. Oh. You're going to say, I want to be next to Dan or Luke, or you don't want to be next to Dan or Luke, whatever you want to do.
Of course not.
Yeah, you guys all know that. Don't do that. And then, so you're going to give me that information, and then I'll parse out the spots and tell you where you're going to camp at. And you have assigned camping. We have street signs. I mean, they're going to be at this address. You're going to have an actual address for your garage area.
Does each team have a certain limit? Is it like a Vegas Torino pit where you can only have, or like a Mint 400 where you can only have a certain amount of vehicles in the Hammertown parking area?
You have a 40 by 80 area to fit
whatever you want to fit in there.
Whatever you want to fit, 40 by 80, yeah, which is more space than you think, but still not unlimited.
Yeah. So you kind of got to be creative.
Yep.
Where your crew going to stay? Where are you staying?
Exactly.
How does that all pan out?
Yep. And then from a registration perspective, we're actually changing a bunch this year. We're moving our registration area out of Hammertown, outside the front gate. So in the past, you would just come in the front gate, you would say, I'm here to race, and they let you buy, and you'd go in, and then you'd have to wait till registration was open on any given time and register. By moving everything outside of the welcome gate, registration is going to be open 24 hours a day from the time the event opens until it closes. So you roll up at 3 a.m., you can register. You roll up at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, you can register.
Really?
Anybody, and then all your crew bands, everybody, you can handle all that. They can all handle themselves individually. They don't all have to come with you. They can just roll up and say, I'm crew for Andy McMillin. We'll have their name on the list because you will have provided it. They get their badge, they go inside.
Interesting.
So it should be, hopefully it's going to be more streamlined, more efficient, much better experience for you guys. You pull up.
I was going to say, it seems pretty user-friendly.
I want it to be. I want you to be. And as when you check in, you can say, hey, I don't, first time here, I don't know where I'm going. And we can actually get someone to lead you to your garage area.
Oh, cool.
Get you pulled in, get you parked, and good to go.
That's nice.
So,
what about like tech inspection?
you guys are going to do a contingency tech.
Right.
Nothing like you do in Baja. It's going to be a 2 hours done. Start to finish. Everybody starts it, and they're going to be there for 2 hours. They're going to go to their driver's meeting, and they're going to peel out.
Okay.
From my view on tech, so Ultra 4, we only tech one time a year. We tech at King of the Hammers, and then every race you come back to, it's your responsibility to bring your car back the way you signed up to race. I have some of the same basic assumption of you guys. I'm going to check for fire extinguishers and current helmets and fire suits, like the real basic stuff.
Yeah.
I'm not teching your cars. The bottom line is, if you own a trophy truck and you're putting your own neck on the line out there, I'm assuming we're not weighing your cars. I'm not checking for. I'm not putting you through that same kind of process. You've already vetted yourself through the other racing organizations that are leading you to this point.
Right.
So make sure you got a fire. You got a helmet and head, neck restraint, and gloves, and it's more of the business opportunity for you to be in front of 30,000 people that are wandering around your cars and
Do you
touching
have to have gloves?
Yes, you do.
Oh, that might be. I know a couple guys out there that don't wear gloves. This might be the race. Who knows if you're invited or not? I don't know. We'll see.
We changed our rules this year, as a matter of fact. Going into 2019 is the first year we're requiring gloves. I felt kind of dumb. We took our guys to Crandon this year, and we lined up to go to Crandon, and Crandon's like, why are these guys not wearing gloves? And I felt pretty amateur.
Yeah.
Quite honestly, it's like we put these guys through a lot of steps to make sure they're safe.
Yeah. Yeah, it kind of doesn't make a whole lot of sense. You're wearing all this fireproof, you know, helmet, underwear, race suit, shoes.
But your hands are...
And then what you're probably going to use to crawl out of the fire and grab onto something with isn't protected.
So we made that change. So
that's good. Good for you. I think that's about all I have. Do you mind answering some fan submission questions from a previous...
I don't mind at all.
I think this is from a previous Fishgistics episode. I was just handed this. There's some interesting ones on here, so
bring it.
Stay tight. First question is from EL-Todd Hainsworth. He's wondering, will the course tackle any rock crawling style going downhill of course sections?
There is a couple more technical areas than most. I would say equal to the summit or maybe a little harder than the summit, but talking to Rob Mack, who's the guy that's raced King of the Hammers, he knows where I want to put you guys at on that specific section, and he was comfortable with it. So,
and Rob Mack's pretty gnarly, so I'm not sure what to really think about that.
He's raced a little bit, here and there,
a couple years.
Yeah.
Second question, my buddy Josh Daniel asks, I'd like to know how the two loops will work together.
Sure. So
is it a smaller loop and a bigger loop?
So there's an 80-mile loop that goes to the west, and there is a 40-mile loop that goes to the north and the east, and they both come back to the main pit. So you go out and race 80 miles, come back to the main pit, go out in 40 miles, come back to the main pit, go out do 80 miles again, then go back out and do 40 miles again, and you're finished.
Gotcha. Josh, I hope that makes sense. If not, text me and I'll draw you a diagram. Next question, I'm not really sure what his username is. J03_H3RR3RA, maybe Herrera, Joe Herrera, maybe. The threes or E's anyway. Are there plans for 6100s trophy truck specs in the future?
So I'm leaving that open. Yes, I can see a time not on the same day when trophy trucks are racing. But I would love to see a true all-star. It's kind of the same way of earning your way in. Give me the top 10 spec trucks, the top 10 Class 10 cars, the top 10 trophy lights, the top 10 Class 1s, 10s. Take the top 10 of each of the classes, and let them run for a lot of money. And not just trophy truck guys. I mean, there's other racing besides trophy trucks.
Absolutely.
So, but it would have to be separate. We'd have to figure out ways to carve that in. That's when we start getting down the line and growing a little bit.
That's cool. It's good to hear. Let's see. Fourth question. How's the payout going to work of the prize purse?
$100,000 to the winner, 15 to second, 10 to third.
Wow. That's beefy. And final question here, very, very important question. Do you prefer, from Casey Gilbert, do you prefer Pacifico or Tecate?
Casey Gilbert's asking me that.
Casey Gilbert.
Pacifico, but yeah, I like Pacifico.
And why Pacifico?
Because if you're drinking Pacifico, you're closer to the finish line. Tecate's up north, Pacifico's down south. If you're still drinking Tecate, you're way too close to Ensenada.
There you have it. Simple as that.
That's pretty simple.
That's interesting. I actually didn't know that.
You didn't know what?
I didn't know that Tecate was up north and Pacifico was down south.
Try to order Tecate in La Paz. Try to order a Pacifico in San Felipe.
Most of the time, by the time I get to La Paz, I'm ready for tequila.
That's fair.
So I cancel out the Pacifico and the Tecate.
Yep.
Okay, that's all the questions I have.
I know that's not true. I know for a fact there's a question there from Tyler Nussbaum asking if I feel good about destroying Parker.
There is a question from Tyler Nussbaum that I had crossed out because I didn't know how you felt about it. But,
it's a valid question, and I'm not gonna be a poser and not answer the hard questions.
Do you feel good, word for word? Do you feel good about ruining the Parker 425?
I don't feel good about it, and I don't think I am. But when this first started, when all this started, the concept would be is that the top X guys that this was supposed to be like a 20-car race when we first started, and those guys weren't necessarily there. I mean, you raced the 425 yourself, but how many? If we did this, do you think you'll still go to the 425, or do you think you'll not go? Answer honestly. You can. This is completely unscripted.
I probably won't. I probably wouldn't go. Only having one truck.
Yeah.
That'd be a really fast turnaround with possibly engine, transmission. Some guys can do it, and guys that have budget to do it, right? Because a lot of guys with sponsors have you race these 4 races a year, these 6 races a year.
I'm open, and this is where actually we started this conversation just as we went with the camera, right? I'm open to finding some way to incent guys to go do Parker. I want Parker. Parker needs to survive. Parker needs to be as awesome as it's always been.
Right.
I'm not trying to go after Parker. I'm not trying to go after Best in the Desert. This is a standalone event. I'm not making a race series. I just want to do something cool. Give you guys as much pub and as much, as many eyeballs in the world watching. I mean, you're going to have guys watching. You're going to have more global fans watching than you can imagine. We have 500,000 people just in Europe that watch King of the Hammers.
Really?
They're going to watch this.
Is rock crawling big in Europe?
We race in Europe. We have a 5-race series in Europe. You don't even know that. I just came back from Poland.
I've been under the rock I was talking about earlier.
No, we race in Poland, France, Italy, England, but now we're going to go to Spain. Yeah. So,
wow.
I mean, I've walked into bars in Croatia that know about King of the Hammers. They're going to be watching. There's going to be people watching you that had no idea even what a trophy truck was before February.
That's great.
And there's no doubt you're going to put on a show. I mean, it's exciting watching. So let's put that coverage out there. Let's make this as big as possible, and then make the sport in general big enough or bigger, and that's good for everybody. It's good for SCORE. It's good for Best in the Desert. It's good for you guys.
Absolutely.
So do I feel good about it? No. I wish it was better. I wish we were so close together on dates. I can't fix it. They can't fix theirs.
Yeah, there's only so much you can do.
Right.
So I'm.
But I respect the question, Tyler.
Yeah. Thank you, Tyler. Tough question, but Dave is not one to hide, as you can see here. Well, I think that just about does it. I want to thank you, Dave, for allowing me the opportunity to have this one-on-one time with you.
No, I appreciate it.
I enjoyed it. I enjoyed going to race this race myself. I'm somewhere in that top 50 list in the last 3 years.
Yeah.
But it's great to find out, and hear more details about the race and how it's going to work and kind of what we can expect as racers. So yeah, I think that does it. Thank you guys for tuning in. And if you have any questions, just hit up Dave on Facebook. That's what I would do.
I'm not on Facebook.
Don't hit up Dave on Facebook.
Not on Facebook.
Hit up Dave on
Hit me up. I'm on Race Desert. Go to Race Desert.
on Race
Dave
Desert.
Cole,
He reads
4454
all his
there.
private messages. Or just hit me up and I'll give you a cell phone number. All right, thanks.
That's on the website too. Cheers. Thanks.